So I woke up this morning to some really interesting news. Apparently Naruto Blazing is coming back. Apparently. Let me talk about that before you go running off and posting about that. Let me just explain. So I'm also re-recording this video to make sure there's no confusion with anything I'm saying. So while I just said apparently it's back, trust me, odds are it's not back. Let me explain. So this morning I woke up to a post from Karu B, Naruto Blazing, over on Twitter/X. What do you call it, by the way? I've never stopped calling it Twitter. And they say an asset for Ishiki has been found within the files of Naruto Blazing. Naruto Blazing is reportedly back. Now, there's a lot of cause for pause here. The first thing I gotta say is this is a brand new Twitter account. That's a huge red flag there. Hydros pointed that out to me. And that's one thing that's a huge red flag. This guy basically shows up out of nowhere and claims to be a data miner with news on a game that ceased activity years ago. This game closed in February of 2021. If you don't know, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Blazing was it's a weird game because it was really popular for a couple years there. And then for the latter half of its life, after they made some decisions with the, I forget what the mode was called, but the way they were handling the summons for the characters for the PvP-oriented mode, it pretty much killed this game. And the reason it closed is just like any other gacha game, money. It just wasn't generating enough money. I don't remember the sensor tower numbers, but this game was struggling to make even like 5,000 a day, if I remember correctly, which for a global game was, with a Naruto IP, oh my God, dude. Could you imagine? 5K. Could you imagine? So things like that. Even if it was 20K, that would be skeptical, right? So things like that have been kind of going on. This game's been gone for years, okay? So this guy shows up out of nowhere talking about it. And his explanation is that when people ask him how can he find this information when this isn't available anymore, if it's real, OMG. I saved a version of the file about 4 months before the game shut down through some shenanigans, currently trying to find the full sprite sheet. I don't know if there was anything else added in here, but basically he's being asked how can he find these things when the game ended so damn long ago. So there's no way for you to really get access to the servers. And then the immediate response would be, okay, well, wouldn't this stuff have been in there prior to the game's closure? And some of the stuff that he kind of talks about, as people will point out later on in some of these replies with the timeline, it's just kind of weird. So I don't know exactly when Ishiki was shown date wise, but I assume he would have been available to that game at that point before they closed. It's been years, so I don't really know exactly date wise. Let me know in the comments if that even lines up in the first place. But he talks about other things in here. People talk about other stuff. It's a pretty long thread, and so this also balloons into a few other things with people talking about it, being excited about it, because obviously, despite the monetary support for the game, there was a solid fan base for it. I myself played the game for a long time. I have a lot of videos on Blazing as well. It's funny to me that if you told me Blazing, Ninja Voltage, they were up at the same time for a while. You know, if you asked me which one of those games would be the one still here today, I would totally have told you it would be Blazing, by the way. I feel like they gave up on Blazing a little bit too soon. I feel like they gave up on Blazing right before the boon. Like right before the big boon, you know, of gacha gaming. Especially given that it's 2021, February 2021. It's not terribly surprising the game didn't do amazingly in 2020. But the thing about 2020 is we had that stuff going on in the world, obviously. But the thing is, that also ballooned a lot of games. So many games were super successful because people were just at home the entire time and had more time to game. So I guess maybe that's why they thought this game just was dead, because it didn't see the same success. It just got worse and worse. So anyway, this got talked about a lot, posted about a lot. I mean, this is in the Naruto Blazing style. It appears to be unfinished. Like I don't really know what's going on. He said he was looking for the other sheets. I'm gonna see if he got that. PS360, my guy, posted, according to a data miner, Naruto Blazing has been updating code for Boruto content server side. So server side, could a reboot of the closed gacha game be in development? Take as a rumor for now, Naruto Blazing 2 would be awesome. So let me just kind of say this while I look for this. There is absolutely no precedent for this, by the way. So let me just hit the media tab here. He's showing some strings of code. Bayron Naruto here. or Baryon, excuse me. I always say Bayron. Looks to be coming back soon. Found a bunch of code. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see this as being crazy hard to fabricate personally, but I'm not a coder. Maybe you guys could let me know. It just doesn't seem like it'd be crazy hard to fabricate. Any halfway decent artist could probably draw this. I'm just being honest, right? So anyway, we don't have a precedent for this. We've seen games close in the past, but very, 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 very rarely do they actually come back. Most of the time when a game shuts down and comes back, they didn't actually get a full shutdown. They basically just changed ownership, things like that. Maybe they had a weird period where they go into a deep maintenance, like One Piece Bounty Rush happened with that game where it went down for like 4 months. Shit, currently, it's not solo leveling. Sword Art Online, the Variant Showdown game, the newest gacha game from Bandai in terms of that, it's still in a maintenance. They put that thing in maintenance like 6 months ago. It's still in maintenance because they're working on it, reworking it. So we don't have a precedent for a game shutting down and being gone for years and getting rebooted. That just isn't a thing. At least not yet anyway. Now, we also don't have a precedent too much for an unsuccessful game getting a sequel. I can understand if this game was up and running until now, they announced server closure and then said, hey, here's Naruto Blazing 2. It's coming out tomorrow. Like that, obviously the timeline would look different, but you get my point. And then also that raises the question of like, why would you even do that if the game is successful in the first place? It's just going to piss everyone else off, right? So we don't really have a precedent for this. Like all the stuff just lines up to it not being true. Now, I wanted to hit this post up. It adds a lot of context from Uchiha in America. But before we read this, again, make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe and post your thoughts down below. Again, it's probably not happening, but I wanted to talk about it because it is something that, I was a very big fan of this game, like I was saying, and it is something that I think a lot of people would want to know about, that this is kind of going on with just even mentioning Blazing at all, right? I see a lot of y'all are getting baited by the possibility of a previous Naruto mobile game getting revived, quote unquote, by taking advantage of the nostalgia you've had for it. So please don't fall for this crap and take it with the largest pinch of salt known to man. 99.9% this is fake. That's exactly what I said. I won't say 100%. I mean, this is basically 100%, but I won't say 100% because there's a 0.1% chance this crap is true. And then we got Nostradamus Karu over here with the information. The leaker, quote unquote, claims that they were holding on to an update files 4 months before the game's closure, November 2020 build of the game. So 4 months before the game closed, Karu, this guy that is the leaker here, is claiming that he was already backing up the game's files, which would have been November 2020. Even if the game was updated to the latest, which came out on December 8th, 2020, the finale update. So the game announced its closure and got its last update December 8th, 2020, a couple days after my birthday. You will find a lot of issues with the dates, and you can figure out the BS quickly. See, that's kind of what I was saying. I'm sure that the dates on some of this stuff, especially seeing that code with like Baryon, Naruto, whatever, I'm not good at names. Don't at me about it. It just doesn't make any sense. So the claim is that this person backed it up. So the way I understand is he backed it up so he had access to it. And you can't access this stuff unless you have an offline version of the game, which, okay, whatever. And they're secretly updating the code on the background server side to be able to have modern content in Naruto Blazing. That's basically what's going on. So anyway, let's see. Naruto Blazing ended service on February 9th, 2021 with everything unsettled, or sunsetted a bit before that. Yeah, typically when games end, they announce their closure a long time in advance, and they gradually take everything off. They stop applying purchases, all these different things, and it's closing. But another telltale sign of when a game is closing is when a company stops working on it. And you can tell when a company is done with a game, because you start getting updates. Currently, games are updating once a week or once every other week, right? That's the typical gacha schedule. But after a while, that once a week turns to once every 3 to 4 weeks, and it's because they're about to close the game down. They come to the decision to close these games down, not just on a whim. They build up to it, and they probably decided this game closed officially then. They probably decided early 2020, like January, February, maybe late 2019, they decided the game was going to close. And they just wanted to roll out what they had in the works and then announce it. Oftentimes, companies will do that. They'll also oftentimes wait until they finally get to have one more celebration, like an anniversary or something, and then a couple months later, they go, boom, the game's closing, so we got your money one last time, right? That's typically what they do. Anyway, so now in the screenshots, the leaker claims that there are artworks for Baryon Mode Naruto and Ishiki. Let's take a look below. Baryon Mode officially appears in the anime on the end of episode 216, which released on September 19th. 2021. So it's that already doesn't line up. But again, the claim isn't so much that these things can't be here. The way I understand is that they're adding things in now, basically, which is weird. It doesn't make any sense. Because again, I don't know how having an offline version of the game, trying to read their server side stuff, would really grant you access to do that. I don't really get it, especially because this person seems to be the only person that can replicate this. And Ishiki was first revealed at episode 213, which was on August 29th, okay? The official anime design spreadsheet was finalized in the after start of the Japanese fiscal year, which is after April 1st, 2021. This game was published by Bandai, who holds the anime license, which is prohibited on overpassing the anime episodes that are currently airing at the time. So this has been a big talking point lately. I didn't report on this. Another big talking point lately has been about whether or not games can use manga characters and stuff like that, or non-animated characters. I think the root of this was like Dragon Ball games and Sparking Zero. But this is something that's funny because if you've played Legends or Dokkan, we've always told you basically if it's not animated, they're not coming to the game. Ultra Ego, not coming to the game. Basically, if it's not animated, do not expect these things. And in terms of Legends, I guess now that Heroes is closing, never expect Heroes at this point. But you couldn't expect it anyway because all of these things require different licenses. And you can only work on what you have the license for. And so, long story short, if you have the anime license, you're prohibited from doing anything not related to the anime. And if you have a weird situation where the character has like a different model or something, they look a little bit visually different in the anime versus the manga, you have to use the anime model. Like things like that happen, right? Now, with Dokkan, and I think with Legends a little bit too, but I know for sure with Dokkan, they've used anime stuff or manga stuff to fill in move sets, right? And we've also seen other characters like Kuriza, who's like still not ever animated. Gine was in stuff like fusions way before Dragon Ball Super Broly. So there are outlier situations where they can use these things, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the license you have. So the implication here is that since that stuff popped out way later, they wouldn't have been able to do it in the first place, but even then they don't have the license to be able to do anything in advance because they're talking about the anime episodes here, so just in advance, right? So that's another thing I didn't really talk about. The only exception to this was CC2's Naruto Storm 4, which was done after Bandai pulled a lot of strings. It paid off since it's the best-selling fighting game. Not to mention the date of the account creation and the Reddit post is within the same time. This is the weakest attempt at a troll I've ever seen. If people fall for this, then the Naruto anime community is cooked so far. Last but not least, CC2 doesn't work on mobile games, as confirmed by the interviews with CC2 themselves. Hiroshi over there. CC2 has confirmed themselves that they don't partake in the development of mobile games. Content from the Storm games being used in Naruto Blazing, for example, has nothing to do with CC2 because only Bandai owns the rights to work on and use the Naruto Ultimate Ninja IP. So I guess I kind of skipped a couple steps here. If you're confused at that, Karu here also showed a Reddit post. I guess I kind of skipped that, huh? There's a Reddit post that kind of ties into this. And they say the developers of CC2 or of the developer CC2 themselves, basically CyberConnect 2 developers, right, are working on this revival of this game, which doesn't make any sense because again they can't work on that game. It would have to be a Storm game. like Ultimate Ninja Storm Mobile or something like that. But they wouldn't pull these assets from this old ass game and try to build it from the ground. Like it doesn't work. They're not Bandai. It doesn't work. So it's weird. It's all over the place, right? So anyway, there was a whole Reddit post about that, claiming that they're working on it, things like that. And then that's when the coding starts. And then after that, we get to see this post on Ishiki here. And that's where things really took off. This image was all over, and that's kind of what I saw. So there's also some further clarification in here as well. There is a way that is available to the public to check said information before they are even released at times. Registrations usually occur after pitching the idea and before development or during early prototype phases. In between, no trademark reveals for these. In fact, you can see all Bandai Namco related trademarks for past, current, and potentially future games by searching certain keywords from the trademark bot. Here we have all the relevant registrations and names for Naruto Blazing. So these are all the relevant names for Naruto Blazing. Ultimate Ninja Blazing from 2015. Yeah, so it looks like they're not even using that title. But again, we're shifting back to Bandai because they were the ones running this game. But the claim also says it was CC2, which I totally forgot about. That's very interesting stuff. Very interesting. So basically, let me see this. He also had this post. I didn't even find stuff for connections, not stuff that already has been leaked. But I found some shit for Blazing, which caught both of us off guard, LMAO. IDK if they're planning on bringing the game back for the anniversary, but the characters I found were like Ishiki, Baryon, Mode Naruto, things like that. So I'm going to conclude here. He claims, I love this community too much to lie. Okay. I'm going to just say here, for those of you just seeing these posts, I like to recap everything I found. Lines of code suggest the existence of Boruto events and characters. A Reddit thread from a current Bandai employee suggesting a new Naruto game is being made by Gree. Oh, I missed the Gree part. 3 actual assets of Ishiki were found within the game. I will continue to search for more information throughout the day. I don't think the Reddit thread is credible at all, and if it is, it's not made by Gree. Gree isn't an international Bandai studio. Also says it's not connected to Storm like Blazing. I would take this thread with a grain of salt. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. So it looks like we've gone over everything. So anyways, I'll just say this. It's probably fake. It's probably fake. I can't really see this being a thing. It just, nothing really tells me this is even possible. There is no, and I get the anniversary thing for Naruto. There is no precedent for this. But I guess with that argument, there's not a precedence for anything until it actually happens the first time, right? So I'll leave it to you. What do you think? Post it down below in the comments.